Well, welcome to another episode of our podcast, Conversations and Connections. We're the official podcast of the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. I'm Stuart Burson, the prevention coordinator for the agency. June is Pride Month, and with me via Zoom is Oscar Ruiz, who kind of heads up Lufkin Pride in the area. So, Oscar, I know we've it took some time for us to connect via Zoom, but I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me today.
Yeah, for sure. Always.
So, Oscar, I'm just kind of, I guess let's just kind of start. What's it like trying to lead an organization such as Lufkin Pride in deep East Texas? And I'm not trying to be stereotypical about rural communities, but I would think it's probably different than if you were in a metropolitan area like Houston or Dallas or Austin to try to
Yeah.
run something like that.
So that was one of the big challenges that I thought of when conceiving the idea for Lufkin Pride. I knew that I had grown up in Lufkin, Texas, and I knew how coming out in Lufkin, Texas was very hard, and that the representation of the LGBTQ community was not quite there. So I knew it would have its challenges, and I knew that there would be a lot of backlash and pushback, but I thought it was very important that it happened.
Right. Well, what are the challenges for an organization such as Lufkin Pride in a rural community? I don't know if you want to speak firsthand, if you want to give examples of what you may have faced or what you typically what similar organizations in rural communities face.
Yeah, so it's basically a lot of closed-minded religious views that kind of push back on us as a community. We really try our hardest to not impede on anyone's religious beliefs or anyone's personal business. We try to stay out of the way. We try to do our own thing, but we have had people come to our events yelling at children, telling them that they were going to burn um, and things like that. And we've had a lot of people with signs and protests outside of our events.
Right.
So there's been a lot of challenges in that way.
Um, so Lufkin Pride's origins, were you the one, or I mean, can we credit you for organizing Lufkin Pride, or where did it all begin?
Yeah, definitely did begin with me. I was thinking about how growing up in Lufkin, I had never been to a Pride festival. And I went and moved to Austin when I turned 18. And I remember arriving there and seeing Pride flags on the streets for Pride Month. And I remember seeing couples holding hands with no shame or fear, walking on the street. And it made me tear up. And it made me kind of look back at my experience living in Lufkin, coming out and being fearful of being who I was. And it made me realize that there might be so many more people that have that same experience that I did. And I didn't want that to be the case for a lot of people in Lufkin. I wanted people to have an event in their own hometown so that they didn't have to drive 2 hours to Houston
Right.
to attend any Pride events.
Right.
And maybe they could have their own little oasis of safety and love and acceptance, even if it was for just one day.
Right. Well, and that kind of leads me to my next question is how large is the LGBTQ community in Lufkin or Deep East Texas even?
Yeah.
Uh,
So from what I
I
know,
was just thinking, obviously, it's a large enough community to have such an event.
yeah.
The Family Crisis Center, we had a table at the Lufkin Pride event last year, and
Hmm.
it was a very good turnout. And I'm sure a lot of that was also allies and people supporting y'all also. But how big is the community in Lufkin?
Yeah, I would say it's fairly large, and it's really kind of it's jarring because I remember, like I said, growing up, and there was this fear of like coming out and people being outly gay or LGBTQ in any way, presenting that in any way, shape, or form. Um, and so when I see it now, and I host these events, and there's all these people that show up, and they are not afraid to show their colors. They're not afraid to wear pride on their sleeve. It makes me so happy, and the amount of people that show up. Uh, those are people that are LGBTQ, but also allies as well, like you said, but there are so many more online that might not have the courage to show up for our events or might not have the resources or availability to be able to be there. But there are so many people that identify as LGBTQ in Lufkin.
Right. So last year you had y'all hosted the Pride event at Kiwanis Park in Lufkin. Do you have anything
Mhm.
planned for Pride Month? Now I know
Um,
we're talking about we're in East Texas, and I don't think the Pride event last year was actually during Pride Month, right? Because
yeah,
maybe because of the weather, because it's so stinking hot.
yeah, yeah. So that was one thing that I definitely thought about when conceiving the idea of the Pride is that I wanted to set our event away from the kind of like collection of all the other events in June and all the businesses and corporations posting about Pride and everyone having Pride. And that same month, I wanted us to have our own little time frame away from all of that so that we could
What why was
celebrate not
that?
only once a year.
Yeah. Why did you feel you wanted to kind of step away from the crowd, maybe all the other Pride things and Pride stuff going on? Why did you kind of want to make the Lufkin Pride event separate onto itself?
It was mostly just because Texas is very hot, as you
Right.
said, and the
Exactly.
weather can get very taxing to people. And I never
Right.
ever wanted to put people in a position where they had to be outside for several hours in the heat, with limited shade or resources. So,
Yeah.
safety first, but then at the same time as well. Um, I think us as a community, we always want to do things to stand out a little bit more than with what the rest of the crowd is doing or with what everyone is doing. And it just, nobody has pride events in the fall. And I thought it would be really nice to celebrate Pride year round rather than just for 1 month of the year. And so I thought, well, why can't we celebrate it in the fall? Why can't we celebrate it at another time if we want? But I usually leave those things up to um, the people that are planning it with me, and
Uh-huh.
then also to what people's preferences are in Texas because I want them to be as comfortable as they can at their event.
Right.
Mhm.
So is it too early to speculate? Are you gonna are is there gonna be a Pride event this fall? Are
There
you
is going to be a Pride event. I have to just comb through the details and all the little small things, but we are really excited about having a third event. And we try to make it bigger and better each time. So we gather kind of like information from the events and we see how people react to things. And we're really excited to like make more memories and happy moments for everyone in Lufkin.
great? So you kind of touched on this at the beginning, and I don't want to always spotlight the the hardships and negativity,
Mhm.
but in planning an event, are you ever cautious about how it's going to be received, especially in small towns like Lufkin?
Yeah. Yeah. So, along with all the other events in Lufkin that happen, we kind of have a little bit of a tougher job because we have to make sure that we are palatable and acceptable to people. So that way we are not ran out by a mob of angry protesters with pitchforks and, and
Right.
torches. So we want to make sure that we don't do anything that is very offensive or very jarring or divisive. We want to be inclusive as we can, and we also want to be as family friendly as we can. I think that Pride is not only for adults, but for children. You know, there are some children. I knew I was LGBTQ at 12 years old, and I came out in the fifth grade. So there are children that feel that way, and they might be scared, and they might be like terrified to come out or be who they are. But if there's an event like Lufkin Pride in Lufkin, they might feel a little bit more safe knowing that there's a community of people that will love and support them too. So we definitely think about the community's reaction and what people would think or perceive if there was anything wrong or if there was anything that we were sharing that was a wrong message. So we
Sure.
always have to be aware of those things.
Well, and that's one thing, again, like I said, our agency had a
Mhm,
table at the event last year, and
mm,
it was, everybody was represented. There were families. There were,
mhm.
I mean, there were so many people there, from children all up to seniors that were there. And so, and you did have, a smattering of some people that may not see things your way. And I thought you as an organizer handled that very well and professionally. So going back to your childhood, how hard is it for someone to come out in small town Texas? Was that something you said you came out when you were in the fifth grade, did you say?
In in the fifth
What in the
grade,
world
yeah.
was that like, and how was that received amongst your classmates and your friends? Or did your
Yeah,
friends already know and you just were more open about it?
yeah. So it was really challenging, very hard, but it was a different time as well. And there was, not an organization like Lufkin Pride to show that it was, acceptable or okay to be LGBTQ and out and proud.
Yeah,
So it was a different time period when it was a
sure.
little bit more taboo or a little bit more scary to be who you
Right.
were proudly. But uh, I do want to say that like in that experience, it made me a lot stronger and a lot more sympathetic to people like that. To be able to think about the children that might be LGBTQ and don't have a safe space or a safe place to come out to their families or friends. Um, I didn't come out to my friends until I was in the eighth grade. So when I said I came out in the fifth grade, it was to my family.
Okay,
And there
okay.
was a negative reaction, which made me wait to tell
Yeah,
anybody for a few
yeah.
years.
So I want to kind of wrap things up with other than whatever event may happen this fall. And I want to say for Pride Month. I don't know if you want to say for Pride Month in the fall, since Pride Month is
Hmm.
June, but a Pride event, let's say,
Hmm.
in the fall. Are there any other ways that Lufkin Pride's involved in the community throughout the year? Do y'all ever do anything else, or
Yeah, for sure. So we pride ourselves on being very heavy involved with local businesses because we think it's really important for local businesses to have a spotlight and to shine, and for all of the business in Lufkin not to go to just corporations that might not be sympathetic to us. So we reach out to local businesses, and we try to get local businesses that are LGBTQ friendly to reach out and show up to our pride events and to be involved. And we love spotlighting and showing those people who support us and who care about our community regardless of what income they might make or how big of a building or how big of a business they have. We want to spotlight small business so that we can give back to the community that supports us and loves us for who we are.
and finally, if there's somebody out there that wants to be involved with Lufkin Pride, more so than maybe just attending an event, that maybe they want to be part of the organization itself, is there a way people can get a hold of you, or who can they get in touch with?
Yeah, they can definitely reach out to our Facebook page. and message and kind of see what might be needed. But we always are definitely looking for hands to help set up, or we're looking for donations or people to really just even just talk about our event, share it, spread it on Facebook, talk to
Yeah.
their family and friends about how wonderful our events are, because there's several families and pictures, evidence that people have a really, really great time,
Right.
and it's a really fun time at our events. So the more exposure that we get, the more donations and the things like that we get, the better our events can be, so that we can make them bigger and better each year.
Awesome. Oscar Ruiz, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you taking some time out to be with us and talk about Lufkin Pride and Pride Month.
Yeah, and can I also add, I definitely do want to thank the community for always showing up and supporting us, but also I want to thank all of our volunteers and everyone involved for making our events happen. They could not happen without those people or the community, so we really appreciate and love every single one of them.
Oh, of course, man. All right, thank you, Oscar Ruiz. Again, I guess, what is your title? Are you the leader of Lufkin Pride, president of Lufkin Pride, or do you have a specific title?
I would probably just say organizer.
Organizer. Okay, awesome. Oscar Ruiz, organizer over at Lufkin Pride. So if you have any questions, or if you feel like you need the services of the Family Crisis Center, we do have a toll-free number. That's 1-800-828-7233. Also, be sure to subscribe to Conversations and Connections. You can do that via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast service of your choice. And if you'd like to make a donation to the agency, go to our website, FamilyCrisisCenterofEastTexas.com. There at the bottom left, you'll see a donate button. Click on that if you'd like to make a monetary donation to help survivors of relationship violence. Be the voice, if not for you, for someone else.